Well, hello, my friends, and happy Sunday to you. Today is October 26th. I normally don't do these kinds of videos on Sundays, but what the hell? Got a lot to talk about today. I guess we'll begin with the ridiculous, move on to the serious, and then we'll just kind of see where it goes from there. Now, if we're going to begin with the ridiculous, then that can only mean one thing: the orange buffoon. So let's begin with a post that he put on Truth Social. Of course, it's unhinged because they all are. The man is descending increasingly rapidly into madness fueled by dementia and megalomania and all the other things that are fucking wrong with him, many of which we will probably never fully understand. I don't know why this popped into my head, but stream of consciousness, that's kind of what I do here. Albert Einstein's brain, after he died, was stolen by, I believe, a professor from Princeton who thought it was imperative that we study his brain to try to determine what accounted for his genius. And I think it's imperative that when this orange buffoon is no more, that we study his dementia-ridden brain. Because it's not just dementia that explains what's wrong with this fucking guy. I think this psycho, he's a sociopath for sure. I think it's important to understand this man to the best of our ability. I mean, how much can you discern just from studying a brain in a jar? I don't know. Maybe nothing. The fuck do I know? But if anything can be learned about this historically horrible human being, and he truly is one of the worst human beings ever to have lived. And he is doing greater harm to this country and to the world than perhaps any president in history. And there's something seriously fucking wrong with him. So when he's gone, if I had anything to say about it, I would say, stick that brain in a jar and let's cut that fucker up and see if we can figure out what the hell's wrong with him. Anyway, let me show you a tweet that he posted. By the way, don't take anything I have just said as me hoping that anything bad happened to him. I, in fact, want him to live a very, very long life. I mean, some people speculate that he's got one foot in the grave as we speak, and I think there's a lot of reason to believe that's true. But if I had my way, he would live a very long life, decades more, in prison, where he belongs. Now, admittedly, I don't get much of what I want here lately, so, shit in one hand and wish in the other, see which one you fill up first. I'm probably not going to get my wish on anything. But if I had to write the script of what happens to this piece of shit, he would be impeached, removed, and then prosecuted, and then sent to prison for the rest of his life. But, we'll see. Anyway, here's what this guy wrote on Truth Social. Oh, come on, man. Let's pull this down. There we go. He wrote this 2 days ago. He wrote, just in. What is he? Fucking news anchor? Just in. Documents show conclusively that Christopher Wray, deranged Jack Smith, Merrick Garland, Lisa Monaco, and other crooked lowlifes from the failed Biden administration signed off on Operation Arctic Frost. They spied on senators and congressmen and women, and even taped their calls. He probably means tapped, but he probably doesn't know the difference because he's a fucking moron. They cheated and rigged the 2020 presidential election. These radical left lunatics should be prosecuted for their illegal and highly unethical behavior. Always like it when the most corrupt politician, not just president, politician in all of American history talks about ethics. I love when a 34-time convicted felon talks about illegal behavior. Anyway, let's deal with what he says here. Because he talks about two different things. He talks about the deranged Jack Smith and all these other people investigating him. That's the one thing. Then he talks about they cheated and rigged the 2020 presidential election. Now, he didn't specify a different group of people. So just by applying logic to what this idiot has written, and I know that's, shouldn't do that, but we're just going to do it anyway. Then when he says they cheated and rigged the presidential election, the 2020 presidential election, then it must be referring to the only people he specifically mentioned in this post, which are Jack Smith, Merrick Garland, Lisa Monaco, and other crooked lowlifes from the Biden administration. So people from the Biden administration rigged the 2020 presidential election. None of those people were in power in any way. I mean, I believe Jack Smith worked for the Department of Justice, but wasn't he over, at The Hague? Merrick Garland was a judge at the time. Lisa Monaco. I mean, these people had no power. Donald Trump was president at the time of the 2020 election when it was supposedly rigged. So this is, of course, absurd. And does he not realize that he was president when this happened? And on the one hand, you have him who's a blithering idiot, but what's even more remarkable is the millions of idiots who read this and go, yeah, they rigged the election. Your Orange God King was president at the time, you fucking morons. How would people with no power be in any position to rig the election? And by the way, what does it say about Donald Trump? Because he was saying that the election was going to be rigged, in the run-up to the election for months in advance. That's why he was railing against mail-in ballots and all this stuff. Because he could read the polls. He saw that he was almost certainly going to lose. So he was setting the stage months in advance to plant the seed of doubt about the election, to lay the foundation for his arguments that it was stolen, and so that he could try to steal it himself. Now, so let's just take him at his word here. He said that they're going to steal the election. It's going to be rigged. All right, well, you were president with the full power of the federal government to investigate, to arrest, to prosecute, do all this stuff. So you're telling me the guy, because obviously Joe Biden was the ringleader of all this. They've said this many times, that Biden and his crew stole the election. So Joe Biden, who was a private citizen, who, as Donald Trump at the time said, was just hiding in his basement. Remember, he wasn't campaigning. He doesn't know where he is. He's hiding in his basement. So that guy and all his buddies who had no power stole the election right out from under a sitting president who already was on guard about he already knew that they were going to try to steal the election. So he even knew it, following his logic, right? He even knew that they were going to try to steal the election, and he let it happen. An old fool, according to Trump, in his basement, who doesn't know where he is, and all these people out of power, they stole the election right out from under a sitting president. What does that say about the incompetence of the sitting president? Well, obviously none of that is true, obviously, but just for argument's sake, because they all believe this. So they all believe, all these mindless Trump drones, they all believe that the election was stolen from him, but they also simultaneously believe he's the greatest president ever. He's playing 4 or 5 or however many dimensions of chess. He's how many steps in front of everybody else. He's a fucking genius. No greater president in history. All of that while that man allowed an election to be stolen from him by a guy drooling on himself hiding in a basement. And they don't see the disconnect in believing both of those things because they believe both of those things at the same time. He's a genius and he allowed the election to be stolen from him. Doesn't make any sense. But you can't apply logic and reason and common sense to these mindless Trump cultists because, that's what makes them mindless Trump cultists, is the complete inability to think anything through themselves and draw logical conclusions. They believe what they want to believe. You're not going to do anything about it. Okay, now moving on to the serious. I want to play a clip from Fox News Sunday. Just came out today. I didn't watch Fox News Sunday. I don't watch it. I don't watch any of these Sunday shows. I mean, what's the fucking point? I see clips later on. If there's anything noteworthy, it'll be clipped up and it'll be all over social media. There's some really good accounts who post these clips. So that's where I watch them. Anyway, saw a clip on Twitter posted by Aaron Rupar. He does a good job of posting this stuff. And it is of Tim Kaine, former vice presidential candidate with Hillary Clinton in 2016, along with, Rand Paul. Rand Paul is one of the few Republicans speaking out against anything Trump does. And actually, I saw a clip of him the other day where he's getting pissed, like with his fellow Republicans being cowards. And he said, I'm not the only one who is alarmed by some of these things Trump is doing. Now, he's not alarmed by everything Trump is doing. Some of these horrible things Rand Paul is perfectly fine with. But, there are some things, especially Trump killing people, murdering people in the Caribbean, rushing us headlong into war with Venezuela, all illegally, all unconstitutionally. He's got a problem with that. He's opposed to that. He's speaking out against it. And he said a lot of his fellow Republicans are too, but they tell him, you need to go out. You need to go out and oppose Trump on this. He already doesn't like you. And, we're afraid to stick our necks out because he'll come after us. But he already doesn't he's already mad at you. So you need to speak for us. And Rand Paul he's sick of this. He's like, I'm sick of these fucking cowards. Of course, he didn't say that, but that was the gist of his comments. So here he is again, one of the few Republicans, maybe the only one in the Senate, speaking out against any of this. So I want to play this little clip here. Okay, here we go.
This isn't about a briefing, but would there be some level of information? Because I've heard other members say they are convinced, they have been told that they can specifically identify these boats, the people on board, and the cargo on board to the level that they're comfortable. So, Senator Paul, do you think that needs to be a public vetting, or if lawmakers are provided that information?
Okay, I want to comment on that just real quick before Rand Paul gets to it. It doesn't fucking matter if they can prove that these people were drug smugglers. Okay, first of all, if they coulda, they woulda, and they haven't. But even if they have rock solid proof that these people are drug smugglers, so fucking what? That doesn't make it legal to kill them. That's a crime. You do what we've always done. You interdict them. We have Navy, we have military resource assets that we can deploy to this. For this purpose. We got the Coast Guard. It's their fucking job to protect our coasts. They're very good at interdicting smugglers. I mean, that's what you do. Then you arrest them, you interrogate them, you find out who else they're working with, and then you go after those people. You go after the whole network to the extent you can, and you put these people in prison. You don't kill them. A president has authority to use deadly force in two circumstances, as I've explained many times. Either pursuant to an authorization from Congress, which there is none here, or in the immediate defense of the country against a clear and present danger to the country so severe that one, deadly military force is required, and two, there's no time to go to Congress to seek authorization. So he can act in the immediate self-defense in that circumstance. But he then still has to go to Congress under the War Powers Act and explain himself and get authorization to continue it and all that. But none of that exists here. So it doesn't matter if they're drug smugglers or not. It's a war crime. It's illegal. And Trump should be prosecuted for war crimes. He should be impeached and removed and prosecuted, and so should Pete Hegseth. Of course, it's not going to happen, but that's what should happen. Okay, anyway, let's play Rand Paul.
Information that's enough for you?
Won't be enough, but at the very least, it should be revealed. There's at least 2 boats. One boat was said to be in distress and trying to get back to land that was bombed. That was said to be a fisherman. I don't know because I don't have any of the evidence. There's also an anomaly in the sense that one of the boats where a bunch were killed, there were 2 that survived. If they were drug dealers, why wouldn't we prosecute them, present evidence of the drugs, show the arms they were about to invade us with, or show us something? Instead, they're being sent back to Colombia and to Ecuador without a trial, and no one's sort of trying to find out, well, who is the one behind this massive conspiracy to invade America with drugs? They're just sending them back home. So in the one instance, you're killed on sight. On the other instance, if you're captured, we just say, oh, well, we're just going to send you back to your country. Doesn't make any sense.
Exactly. It doesn't make any sense. Rand Paul is obviously correct in all of this. You know, he goes and he's blowing these people up, just killing them outright. But then he blows up one boat, there's 2 survivors, and we're told that these people are such a threat to the country that they have to be immediately killed. But then when they're not killed, we don't take them into custody, we don't prosecute them. Presumably, we could prosecute them and get the death penalty, right? Because, I mean, their death is required. That's why he's killing them. Well, even if you did take them into custody, you couldn't get the death penalty because drug smuggling is not a death penalty crime in the United States. So which, begs the question then, if it's not a crime punishable by death under our law, then why are we summarily executing them? All right, so that's one. But secondly, the point that Rand Paul is making here, wait a minute. So there's such a threat to the country that we need to kill them, but when they're not killed, we don't even take them into custody? We just send them back? So that presumably they can go right back to drug smuggling and we'll try to kill them another day? Obviously, this doesn't make any sense. And obviously, Donald Trump doesn't want them talking. If we take them into custody, actually what I thought was going to happen, I was wrong about it. I thought that those people would be Epsteined. They weren't effectively killed when we bombed them, so we'll just kill them after the fact. And that's what I thought was going to happen. I mean, it's easy enough to do. Just kill them and say that they died of their injuries. I mean, we did just blow up their boat and their other, their buddies got killed. It would be certainly reasonable to believe that they were horribly injured and then later died of their injuries. So that's what I thought was going to happen. But no, they sent them back. And we're told these people are Venezuelans, by the way, right? These 2 weren't. They sent them back to Ecuador and Colombia. Those 2 countries were their countries of origin, not Venezuelans. And remember, we're gearing up to go to war with Venezuela because Trump is saying that, Maduro is intentionally flooding this country with drugs to kill our people. That's why we're going to go to war with them illegally, because Congress hasn't authorized war. It's illegal. But that's why we're going to Venezuela, because he's intentionally flooding our country with drugs, sending these drug smugglers. But the only 2 survivors so far, we found out, aren't even from fucking Venezuela. This is illegal from top to bottom. The point is, Donald Trump doesn't want them talking, which is why I thought he'd kill them. You take them into custody, you prosecute them, well then they're entitled to due process and a trial and everything. They get to present evidence in their defense and all that. That's not good. Can't have that. So, you either Epstein them or you send them back. And for some reason he sent them back. I don't know. Anyway, so we have that. What else do we have here? Okay, moving on. Did you see that Donald Trump had the Emir of Qatar? Sorry, I'm not saying Qatar. The Emir of Qatar on Air Force One yesterday. In fact, let me play a little of that. And let's do, down there. Okay,
So I want to welcome you, Mr. President. And as soon as I found out that he's coming to refuel, I said, I'm not going to allow him to take off unless I come and say hello to him. So thank you very much, Mr. President. And,
I see that he's coming to refuel and I must go and talk to Mr. President. I pay $400 million. I give you jet. I come to see you when you near my country because I now own you. I don't know if that's a good accent or not. Whatever. It doesn't matter. Anyway, so there he is, the President of the United States inviting the Emir of Qatar on board Air Force One. And then, some of these MAGAs are losing their minds over this. They've been pissed about this Qatar thing. Look at what Qatar has bought for themselves. And I think it's more than just the $400 million plane. Sure, there's a lot more. Maybe there's no telling how much of Trump's fucking meme coin they bought, put in cash directly into his pocket. But they got, he's aboard Air Force One. They got, unbelievably, and it's gotten so little attention, they have gotten security guarantees from the President of the United States. Sort of like NATO Article 5 security guarantees. That if Qatar is ever attacked, that the United States pledges to defend Qatar with our military. If Trump didn't get more than the $400 million plane for that, then damn, Qatar got some serious perks on the cheap. Anyway, so a lot of these MAGAs are pissed about this. This video came out yesterday. Some of them were just upset on social media, and the repeatedly annoyed Laura Loomer, who both is, passionately committed to Donald Trump. She's a staunch defender of Donald Trump. Yet at the same time, it seems almost every week she says of the Trump administration, that's it, I can't support this anymore, I'm done. And yet, 5 minutes after she says things like that, she's right back to stroking the orange mushroom. But she posted a series of things yesterday. Here's one thing that she posted. Actually, there's my little reply to her. She said, I step away from my phone for 30 minutes and I come back to see a video of the Emir of Qatar, a very bad guy, on Air Force One. Several of her other tweets said, they funded Hamas and blah, blah, blah. She was just pissed. And my response to her there, as you can see, is, you didn't really think that plane was a gift, did you? Because, of course, that's what Donald Trump says it was. It was a gift. Why wouldn't I accept it? I'd be stupid not to accept a gift on behalf of the American people, which, by the way, I'm taking with me when I leave office. How is that a gift to the American people when you're taking it with you? I don't know how the fuck that's even legal. I mean, all right, that's for another conversation. But anyway, it was never a gift. This was to get things from Donald Trump. It's called a bribe. That's what it is. It's a bribe. It's a crime. It's an impeachable offense. Not that those things really matter much anymore, at least not right now. So anyway, here you have that. Two other things real quick. I don't know if you guys saw this, what you might think of it. Here, this is from the New York Times. Kamala Harris suggests she is considering another presidential run. What do y'all think of this? Let me know. Drop a comment. Let me know what you think of this. I'll tell you what I think of this. It's a bad idea for her. I don't think it much matters because, in my opinion, she won't get the nomination. I honestly don't think she would have gotten a nomination had there been a primary last go round, but we'll never know. And if she does run this time, I don't think she'll get the nomination. And from her own personal, just looking at this through her eyes, I think this would be very bad for her because she won't get the nomination. I mean, I could be wrong. I don't know. But this is what I truly believe. She won't get the nomination. I don't think she'll even get close to getting the nomination. I think the fact that she was vice president and she was the last nominee of the Democratic Party, and then she runs again, I think she will do badly. I don't think she'll even come close, and it'll be very embarrassing. It'll be humiliating, and it will utterly destroy her career. I don't think there will be any coming back from that. What she should have done was what she closed the door on. It was widely speculated. Widely is the word I wanted there. Widely speculated that she was going to run for governor of California. I think that would have been a much, if her idea, if her ultimate goal is to one day be president, going back to California, stepping away from Washington politics for a while, becoming governor of California, which she'd have a much better chance to do, that would have been much better. Go be California. She's still young. Go be governor of California. Then you run for president, a couple cycles from now. I think that would have been, for her, much better. She does this. I think she loses in embarrassing fashion. And I think she will put a nail, in her career. It'll be done. That's my take. What do you guys think? And, oh yeah, there was something else. Oh, on the presidential politics front, someone left a comment to one of my videos the other day. I forget what it was about exactly, but this person said something like, I don't know who the next Democratic this person was pretty down on the Democratic Party. I don't know who the next Democratic nominee will be, but I know it'll be a straight white male. This person was really pissed about that. To which I reply, and don't take this the wrong way, this is a purely objective political analysis. My honest opinion here. About a straight white male, if the Democrats do not nominate a straight white male, they're going to lose. Now, I'm not saying that should be the way it is, but have you guys not noticed that this is a pretty racist and sexist and bigoted country? I mean, it's funny to me because I see people saying both of these things all the time. They say that Trump won because the country is sexist and racist. And then yet some of these people are all for Kamala Harris running again. Are you out of your fucking mind? Do you not believe what you just said? You just said that the country is overwhelmingly sexist and racist, so you want to run another black woman who just lost. Do you want to win, or do you just want to make points? I mean, I don't support the country being sexist and racist and bigoted, but it is what it is. So do you want to win elections? Or you just want to stand on principle and keep fucking losing and letting our country descend into MAGA fascism? Because it seems to me those are your choices. If you want to win, at least right now, and hopefully this won't always be the case, but you better damn well nominate a straight white male. And it pains me to say that also means no Pete Buttigieg, which sucks because I think Pete Buttigieg is one of the most gifted politicians we have. In fact, but the thing is, are we just going to ignore the fact that he's gay and how that's going to play with much of the country? Again, I'm not condoning that, but it is what it is. Do we want to win? Pete Buttigieg would not win. For that single reason. And by the way, that's why he didn't get the Democratic nomination in 2020, if we're going to be honest. Democrats didn't even support him because he's gay. You cannot tell me that looking at that field, and remember, Pete Buttigieg did surprisingly well. And he was mayor of, what the fuck, why am I drawing a blank? What was he mayor of? Oh, whatever. In Indiana there. Boy, that pisses me off that the name of the city is escaping me. Mayor Pete. Anyway, he was young mayor no one had ever heard of before with this funny name nobody knows how to pronounce. And he gets into those debates and he gets on TV and you see how talented he is. And he did really well, much better than anyone expected. But he ultimately lost. But he went further than most of them. I forget who it came down to with Biden. But you're telling me you looked at Joe Biden in 2020 and Pete Buttigieg and you said, no, Joe Biden is definitely the more gifted politician, definitely more energy. That's what we need. No, nobody said that. People said, we looked at all these other candidates and nobody's lighting us on fire. This Pete Buttigieg is great, but he's gay, so we can't nominate him. I guess we'll go to Biden. That's how Biden got the nomination. Because even Democrats said we can't vote for a gay man. And I think a lot of them were just being realistic about it. Not because they were bigoted against him, but they realized, yeah, he can't win. And he still can't win. It sucks because, again, if he were, my point about 2020 is, if he were not gay, I think there's a damn good chance he'd be president today. Well, look at that field. He was far and away. I mean, honestly, I'm drawing a blank on who else was running. Kamala Harris, whatever, it doesn't matter. He's incredibly gifted. He may have been president today if he wasn't gay. And it sucks. I think he'd be a fantastic candidate, but for that, he's fearless. He goes to Fox News. I mean, he'll go anywhere, which is exactly what you need. He would go on Joe Rogan. You know, if Kamala Harris went on Joe Rogan, we might have had a different outcome. We'll never know. But you go everywhere. You go everywhere. Pete Buttigieg will go anywhere. Anyways, so you can tell me what you think about that. And then finally, we're going to end with the health of the president. I'm probably going to do a standalone video on this later. But he landed in Malaysia within the last, I don't know, when was this? Last 12 hours or so, I guess. And he had the red carpet rolled out for him, and he walked over to a group of people, singers, musicians, I don't know, it looks like I don't know, got some music going on here. I don't know if there's any instruments there, but he goes over to them and he starts doing his double-fisted jerk-off dance that he so frequently does to, you know, the gay anthem YMCA. Funny how all these people are so bigoted, would never consider voting for a gay man like Pete Buttigieg, but they will, you know, damn near worship a man who's constantly playing, you know, like the song most associated with gays. It's just unbelievable. Anyway, let me play this for you. See if you notice anything, and then I'll tell you what I notice. All right, let me tell you what I notice. First of all, he's walking very, very slowly, and he's very hunched over. He is more and more, with each passing day, turning into a literal hunchback. Hardly, you know, the shape and stature and physique of an alpha male, but what are you going to do? I mean, he's a nearly 80-year-old man who doesn't exercise and eats like shit. I mean, it's not surprising, and I'm not body shaming him, except to the extent that these people, his cult, would have us believe that he's the most physically fit specimen in all of American history. They literally say, well, he was in better shape than Barack Obama. And just ridiculous nonsense. They lie about his weight. They lie about all of this stuff. They make digital images of him with rippling fucking muscles. I mean, it's ridiculous. That's why I point these things out. But then he walks over to these people and does a stupid dance. And if you'll notice, his double-fisted jerk-off, like he's jacking off two guys at the same time. Again, these bigoted homophobes who would never consider voting for a gay man worship a man who wears makeup, who dances to a gay anthem, and then does a dance where it appears that he's simulating jacking off two guys at once, right? That's what he looks like he's doing. But if you'll notice, his double-handed jerk-off move is no longer really a double-fisted jerk-off move. It's sort of like a one-handed jerk-off move, or maybe like a 1 1/4. If you notice, the left side of his body doesn't seem to be mirroring the right side of his body. Not quite keeping up. It's dropped. Even when he's walking, the left leg doesn't seem to be holding up its end of the deal. And he's over there, and it's just the one jerk-off going on. So take a look at this again. Let's start from the beginning, where he's waddling down the red carpet. Let me do this here. Okay, watch how slow and hunched over, and then he goes into his 1 1/4 jerk-off dance. It's very Frankensteinian. Is that a word? Frankensteinian? He's walking like Frankenstein. You know what he looks like there? I'll tell you what he looks like. Remember Bob Dole, who was wounded in World War II? But, he couldn't do much with his right arm or his hand. He always held a pen. I believe it was in his left. Maybe it was in his right. Whatever. Doesn't matter. But he always had a pen in his hand, and it was always, the arm was at his side. That's what kind of Trump looks like. I don't know if he's carrying anything in that arm, but it's just stuck to his side. So that's what that reminded me of. And if you'll notice, this dance is actually morphing. It's, at least in this scene, it's not really the jerk-off thing as it usually is. Now it's maybe because he's trying to overcompensate from the loss of the left side. It's no longer a jerk-off. It's more like he's swimming. It's more like he's trying to swim with just the right arm. He's doing this. Let's see that again. So I don't know what I'm going to have to call it, if he's turning this from a jerk-off to a stroke. Well, actually, it's actually a good segue from a jerk-off to a stroke. Reach the other side of that pool. There you go. So he's going from jerk-off to a stroke, which leads me, yet another good segue. Why? Well, could it be that he's had a stroke? That has been widely speculated. Because there's something going on with his health. He disappeared for like a week, month or two ago, a couple months ago. And people have been speculating that he has been having a series of mini strokes. Now, if that is true, a stroke could certainly explain what we're seeing here. He's been dragging his leg for a while. Now he doesn't seem to have full use of the left arm, causing him to modify his jerk-off dance. I don't know. That's something I'm going to keep in the back of my mind as I watch video of this guy going forward. I mean, he is an old fuck who's been sitting on the plane for God only knows how long. He might have just woken up. Who knows? I don't know. There's other things that could explain it. But a stroke could also explain it, but we'll see. Anyway, I guess that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Talk to you again soon.